Sarah Corkery, thank you for joining us for Beyond the Podium. This is your first campaign. I have to ask, what led you to this, to decide to run and as your first race for federal office?
Exactly. It is a very big step we've taken forward. I've had breast cancer twice, and afterwards we got involved with an organization called the National Breast Cancer Coalition and went out to DC and lobbied to try and help more people with breast cancer. And the bill we wanted to pass is the Metastatic Breast Cancer Access to Care Act. Long name, simply put, if you get breast cancer under 65 and it's a terminal disease, it spreads, we should waive a waiting period to give people access to medication. Sadly, Ashley Hinson has been the holdout from the Iowa federal delegation. So decided to run for office, and I made a video outside my house on October 17th last year and said, I'm going to run, and when I win, I'll sign it. And on October 17th last year, Ashley Hinson actually signed it.
I have to ask too, this has been a very red state for some time now. Your district has largely gone to Republicans 5 out of the last 6 times, 4 of the last 5 times, I should say. And I wonder, what do you think is different this time? Why do you think Democrats may be able to kind of change that tide right now?
So with the redistricting, we actually were fortunate that we have just a little bit more Republicans, but almost evenly split Republicans, Democrats, and Independents. So it really is a seat that's up for grabs. And this district has been finicky. It doesn't like incumbents who don't get their work done. You know, and thirdly, it's a presidential year, which is always a year for higher turnout. Now, nobody knew what was going to happen at the top of the ticket, but it sure helped Democrats. We received renewed energy under Kamala Harris.
We've seen that the key issues have largely not changed here in Iowa. Economy is #1. We see all kinds of great news coming out of Washington in terms of economic growth, in terms of job growth, in terms of even income growth. Why do you think that's not resonating, and why is that not helping people in the 2nd District in terms of their personal finances?
We've got a couple issues here. One is we need to take care of people. We saw our governor turn away $19 million in food this summer because it was a federal program that she didn't want to hand Biden a win. Well, we've toured 3 large food banks and food pantries, and June saw the highest number of Iowans going in. So there is problem with price gouging, there is problem with inflation, but there's also problem when we turn away federal aid, and that hurts Iowans, and that's not right. Another economic issue is when and if to have children. That's one of the strongest economic decisions you will make. And currently, with the 6-week abortion ban in place, that doesn't give women as much control and choice as they deserve to have.
On the matter of abortion, I've heard Vice President Harris say that she would pass federal protections. Would you support that? And are there any restrictions that you would be okay with when it comes to abortion?
So I 100% support President Harris when she becomes president to sign into law to codify Roe versus Wade and make sure that we have protections in place. As far as what limitations I would put in place, what I need to say is that pregnancy is complicated. I've been pregnant twice and we've adopted a child, but there are so many factors. One of those factors is the number of weeks that you are pregnant. That is just one factor. You know, you might find out later that there is a terminal illness or problem. So I don't focus on the number of weeks. I focus on that this conversation should be between a doctor and a patient, and it should be a privileged, confidential medical discussion like all other ones are. I've had cancer, and my doctor didn't look to the government to see what kind of treatment plan I needed. So I don't say weeks. Now I need to say this. Of course, there are not people having abortions up until birth. They are not. That is not legal, and that is not happening.
Another big issue that we hear a lot about here is immigration. We've seen, obviously, the president make some executive changes in recent months, and since then that has brought down the number of illegal crossings. But Congress still has been unable to pass anything. What are your priorities when it comes to immigration reform, and do you think that the border does need more security right now?
I 100% think the border does need more security. Republicans have painted Democrats that we want an open border. That is not the truth. Democrats put together a wonderful plan that was approved by the Border Patrol, which would have given them more resources and also given the president, whoever it is, the right to shut down the border when needed. And Republicans were the ones who blocked that bill because they didn't want to give Biden a win before the election. Iowans are tired of the finger pointing. Iowans are ready to get work done. And we also need to hold everyone accountable. When there were raids in Postville, Iowa, people got deported. And also the top person, the white-collar criminal, got sent to prison. And who pardoned him? President Trump. So we need to hold everybody accountable in this conversation and make sure we aren't being painted as something that we're not. We are based on a nation of immigration, and we know diversity builds strength, and we know we need immigrant workers here in Iowa. So we need to stop vilifying the other and work together on common sense solutions.
We've had a number of major natural disasters here in Iowa recently. We've had severe flooding. We've had at least 2 terrible tornadoes strike communities. We're almost constantly dealing with drought conditions as well. Billion-dollar disasters are becoming more frequent. And obviously a lot of the blame is being put on climate change. At this point, what can the federal government do, or are we just going to have to accept the fact that it is going to cost more? Because right now, one of the problems I'm hearing more and more about every day is people losing their insurance. Both people who own a home as well as churches are unable to find insurance because of all of the disasters here, companies pulling out, raising premiums, dropping coverage. How do we protect that? Because as far as we know, this pattern isn't going to be going away anytime soon.
First of all, I believe in climate change. I believe what we are doing to our planet is awful, and we've seen the shifts in the way, we used to call it global warming, right? But it's not just warming, it's getting very cold as well. And we're seeing, it's not that it's just raining, but it's raining harder and faster. And what that is doing is eroding our very ground. We are losing our topsoil at a rapid speed that within possibly 100 years, Iowa will look much different if we don't stop this trend right now. And children are really the ones concerned about that because we are leaving this to them. I say wise people plant trees, they know they're not going to sit under. And we need to start now in sending everybody from individuals and corporations and farmers to help us find solutions with sustainable energy. Here in Iowa, we need to look to wind and solar too, because those are renewable energy options. So we have a lot of ways to get there. What I think we need to do is all agree on where we're trying to get and let people try to find paths and incentives to get there on their own. We're smart individuals. If we work together, we can get this done, but we need to start now.
I think it's very clear in the last decade that Republicans have had a large success here in Iowa, both at the federal level, at the state level, in terms of control. And over those years, there have been several landmark bills passed that were deeply unpopular with Iowans. It hasn't cost them an election. What are Democrats doing wrong if there's so much that the people are upset about with the current leadership?
Well, we know in the last election cycle, the Democratic Party says 95,000 Iowans stayed home, Democrats. That was cycle over cycle. That number really is 250,000 registered Democrats stayed home. You know, we were feeling pretty down in the dumps. We'd been in the minority for a while. We didn't maybe feel the confidence at the top of the ticket that we would have loved. And Liz Mathis suffered from that. She lost by 26,000 votes, but over, again, 250,000 registered Democrats didn't vote. So why is that different now? We have a different top of the ticket. We have a different situation in Iowa. We have a 6-week ban in place. The school voucher bill is not popular and no one asked for it, Republicans, independents, and Democrats. And this month is breast cancer month. And I tell everybody I know that knows somebody with breast cancer, it doesn't care if you have an R or a D behind your name. We need people who are going to be out in Congress ready to help us in our times of need.
That was a midterm year 2 years ago, so obviously you really do need to rely on your party to turn out because turnout is lower. But in the last 2 presidential elections, independents have by far gone for the Republican ticket up and down. How do you change that? What is it that independents are seeing in the Republican Party that you feel they need to see in Democrats?
Well, we have seen a shift. We've been out at county fairs all summer. And at the beginning, it was kind of like everything we've seen in the past. But by the end of the summer, when we had a new person at the top of the ticket, Vice President Harris, we actually saw lifelong Republicans and independents coming to our booth to say enough is enough. We're tired of the vilifying. We're tired of this mean rhetoric. We're ready for a new path forward. And we have not seen that before. We have offices, the Democrats have offices in almost every county open. We have people coming in every 10 and 15 minutes asking for a Harris sign and also saying, what can I do to help? We've not seen this in the past. Something different is happening this time. And I think it's a blue wave. So we're excited to see what's going to happen on November 5th.
Obviously, if Democrats are able to take control of all chambers, it's looking a little bit better in the House as opposed to the Senate right now. What do you believe are the priorities for the first 100 days when most legislation can get passed? And what do you think that means mostly for Iowans? Because with kind of the homogenization of the parties, it seems like there's one platform and that's it. And it feels like that's sometimes why Democrats don't do well here in Iowa, because they don't see a lot of differences between Democrats in Iowa compared to Democrats on Capitol Hill.
There's a huge difference. I will tell you, Democrats here in Iowa, we have common sense. We also we listen to Republicans. I myself got invited to the Republican county chair invited me to their meeting up in Winneshiek County in Decorah, and it's called Club 45 after Trump. And I went for 2 hours from 10 a.m. to noon, and I took their questions, but most importantly, I listened. Because, you know, we need to start at getting back together and finding some common ground. And I wanted to prove it could be done. And the man who moderated it is a Republican, a MAGA Republican, and he was so kind and respectful. And that is a great place we can at least start to get back on the same page.
It sounds like you think that the politics has become too much into the personal with people here in Iowa.
Yeah, I think they are. They're just ready for some people who, we want it to be boring again, right? We would like to have a boring debate. We would like our government to go back to being boring. I think that's what most Iowans want, and that's what we will bring forward when Democrats take control.
Sarah Corkery, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.